you say that Africa, not just Kenya, the problem is illiteracy or religion? Because we seem not to have found a good strike between the two. How will you get that point of distinguishing between illiteracy and religion and all that in the place of development?
You know, the modern world is really a departure from the old world. The African has been misplaced, okay? Having been misplaced where he had his bearing, had his gods and all, you know, his own culture. He is living as a confused man in the so-called modern world. And these are some of the consequences. And religion and the development have somewhere they meet. At some point, they look like oil and water. So those who brought religion to us, especially Christianity, have gotten to a state of civilization or development where religion and development and civilization have become like oil and water. We are still at a level where the two are mixing very well. Because, in fact, development is not there. So people are still living in a world of hoping that tomorrow can be a better day merely by submitting yourself to God. And you ask me what can be done? In South America, Latin America, I think in the 70s especially going to the 80s, but mainly the 70s, there was what was referred to as liberating theology, where people said that basically we have to live a good life here as we prepare to go to heaven. And that God seems to agree with that kind of thinking. So there was that kind of theology. And it really helped in Latin America. So maybe we might also try to convince our people that God does not want lazy people. God, you do not pray to God things he has given you the power to do. Okay? There are things you pray to God to give you. If there are no rains and God gives you rains, surely you should go and work on your land.
And plant trees.
Yeah, and do whatever, and plant food, you know, food crops, and get food. You cannot go on your knees and just, God, bring me food into my stomach. No. In fact, God doesn't like stupid people.
Who want manna from heaven.
God does not want stupid people. God wants people who take care of themselves while they are here. Then up there, the rest will take care of itself.
In a bid to take care of yourself, what just happened across our borders here in Rwanda, we saw President Paul Kagame set a threshold for all those who want to open up churches. Go back, come with your theology certificate. It has to be assessed and see if it is legitimate before you can be given a license to operate a church. Mama Ida Odinga last year during the campaign said from where she could just stand, barely 200 meters, over 300 churches all over the place. It's more of a business. There's a need for us to regulate religious institutions in this country. Do you support that government, that initiative, say, by Kagame, scrapping all these churches down, setting a threshold for them to meet before people can be allowed?
What has happened in Cliffy and continues to happen elsewhere will seem to suggest that we need to have some form of regulation. What form that takes, I'm not in a position to say now, but certainly we will need to have a look at the mushrooming of churches. In fact, even the churches themselves, the splinters, and even within the church itself, the little, people go to worship 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers away, then the others say, no, that is too far, then 1 kilometer away, then finally is a man and his wife on a Gita assembly. So they will need also to be helped to know that the church, for example, has certain power. Church has contributed immensely in the development of education in this country.
Development agenda.
Building hospitals, health facilities, and schools.
Yeah.
Surely, if they had been split into small fragmented things, could they have done that? If PCA had been a small little things, could they do the things they are doing?
Even missionaries with just little churches, they did massive.
So the church also would need to be, because human beings are greedy. You feel because if I was a pastor, I'll be getting what pastors get. So you fight to have your own local assembly. where you become a church
superintendent.
You know, it is really folly. And therefore, there's need to knock sense into the whole industry, because now it's an industry.
Not even more ministry.
Yeah, and again, we must also bite the bullet. Certain things cannot be allowed to operate in the country. Otherwise, we'll end up with worse than what we are seeing. Jokers come up and they say, I'm Jesus, I'm Jehovah.
Yes,
Get that man and slap him and take him to jail.
Hizo Jehovah Wanyonyi.
Yeah, chukua chapa makofi, peleka jela.
Now your neighbor in Eldoret, yes, Watongaren.
Yeah, look, those are the things I'm saying. Anyway, you know, you have to be very careful. And then, since some people have turned churches into industries, into commercial venture, they should pay taxes also.
Don't you think that will be a highly emotive subject
Why?
to introduce
Why?
tax in the
Why?
churches?
We shall classify churches. When we begin to regulate, we shall also classify them. Just the way we have classified parastatals, state corporations, into those that are just give social and those that are commercial. We can say, your church is commercial. Sawa, go on. Lakini lipa tax. You are a Catholic church. We know the schools you run in this country. Nobody will touch you. You are a SEK.
But pay taxes.
No, you run schools. There's evidence. SEK is doing a lot of work.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure. PCA and the rest. You know, but there are others. We know, we don't want to mention them here. I was shocked. Somebody was spreading the returns of one of them in Nairobi, 1.5 billion in one academy in 1 year. Financially. 1.5 billion for a church. Tax them. 500 million. Back in a year, 1 billion.
You saw the net worth of the retired bishop from that church you're mentioning. 175 million when he was being grilled for ESCC position.
Yes. So I'm not mentioning anybody.
Sure.
That's you, not me. I'm not. I'm an old man. I don't want to go to court. But I'm saying, some people, there are churches in Nairobi, wakati wa, what do you call it, sadaka. Wanafunga milango, iron doors, pakadia, kak. And now askari wako hapa. Then the people raise, then askari come, the security call van, inapeleka pesa kwa bank. Tax them.
Sadaka too.
Yeah. Because it's a business. Yeah, we will tell you it's a business.
If you're talking about churches perhaps going the commercial way, some of them have commercialized religion, then do you find that it could also be true that for those who find churches to have been, some of them, conduits of money laundering, especially in the electioneering year? Yeah. We've seen many take money to the church as donations and all that, but this money comes in huge tons. Do you think in Kenya it is happening?
It's happening. And you see, that's why when we move in as a country to regulate churches, and the churches themselves and other religious organizations, Muslims, Hindu, they will take part in this regulation. It will not be a government affair. They will also be there. They will even find it's good for them. And we shall not allow the big churches to use that opportunity, like I said in some recorded program, to stop other small churches from coming on board. No, we will be careful. But in the process of that regulation, we'll also tell the leadership of churches like Catholic Church, SEK, all these big churches, we'll tell them, look here, you must also come up with very clear policy on how you relate, for example, with the politicians. Very clear policy. On how you raise money. How you spend the money. It must be very clear. Because now you are being exempted. But if you continue in that other direction, you'll also join the others who are paying taxes.
And the ESCC must come into the radar.
Yes. Yeah. And the ESCC will come and monitor because these are public funds. They may not be government funds, but they are given by Kenyans. So in the process of regulations, we will sort out a lot of things. You cannot have a raw Catholic priest going against what the entire Catholic Church in Kenya wants by engaging in very partisan politics, using the pulpit in a very bad way for politicians to give them money. You know? So we'll tell the church leadership in Nairobi, your policy must be applied to the letter, down, all the way down.
But don't you
and you must rein in rogue ministers, rogue priests, rogue pastors.
But don't you think it will be such a Herculean task and
Why?
sort of a Sisyphus one?
Why?
Especially for the government to pronounce itself or the standing of the church.
Let me tell you.
This is the same government that got into power through the church.
Wacha nikuambie Richard, we must bite the bullet. Hii vitu ya kuogopa tukifanya hii sijui fulani watatunyima kura. Yeah. Look at where it has brought us.
Utaenda wapi wakati ya campaign?
No, I want to tell Kenyans, and indeed anybody who is listening to me from across the world, being president is not a very big thing. You don't have to be president.
What is greater than presidency?
No, there are bigger things. Just being a good man is bigger than being president. Having peace of mind is bigger.
You want to be president?
No, I'm saying you shouldn't be president at all means. If I know I'm going to be president and my being president will lead to Kenyans suffering, I will not become president. Let those who want to do. There are people who have refused leadership because what leadership meant was that in order for you to become a president, there had to be bloodshed. People said, no, not me, count me out. You can call me a coward. And they take a walk and go home to their family. You won't be the first person. At the end of the day, power is transient. Power is not as big as people think. It is, power is 90% illusion. 90% illusion, 10% transient. So what is it? Nothing. It's vanity.
413 of you watching us from different parts of the globe. We say asanteni sana. Just sampling 2 views here. Fatuma Mayugi watching Prof all the way from Doha, Qatar. Asante sana and thank you so much. Mkubwa Nyumbani. I think Kenya has not yet had its moment of enlightenment, still stuck in its old ways. Still talking about matters religion.
I wish we were in old ways. Old ways were okay.
Really?
Yeah, because we had our culture and our religions and everything. In this new world where we are not quite gotten hold of things, we are suspended between the old order and the new order. This being suspended is what is causing us the trouble. So I would have been okay if we were in the old order.
You would have been okay.
Yeah.
But these, what's coming out from this heart-wrenching story of the Shakahola massacre, which has now been labeled such by the government, is what Kenyans don't understand. How did we get to that magnitude of the massacre? Yet we had our security organs in place, security apparatus. We have even the National Intelligence Service. Kenyans are decrying. What is then their role if they couldn't actually smell the coffee?
You live in a country, Richard. You live in a country where every public officer leaving house does not go to serve the public. They go to make money.
Even our disciplined forces?
No, don't bring in the disciplined forces like the army. Those are different people. But I'm saying the majority of our people just go out to make money. Others are helpless. You are a police officer, you try to report things, people ignore you, you arrest somebody, he's released, then you give up, and then, or the other side that also are just there to go and make money for the whole day. We live in a country where nobody seems to care. Let me tell you, Ethiopia, you go to Ethiopia, and I'm not saying advocating for those kind of excesses, but the day you land, they know you have landed until you leave.
The intelligence service is on the radar.
Go to Tanzania here. The Tanzanians will know these are strangers. Many countries are like that. You come in the country, they know you have landed in the country, and they know you have left.
Is Kenya different?
They know everywhere. Kenya, nobody cares. This is a country which everybody comes in and does everything.
Border patrol units.
You see these vehicles that come from Tanzania, these big buses. You look what they are carrying. I've used them at night. These places where you see those huge vehicles in Tanzania, in town, you go there Saturday when they are leaving. Look at the contraband. Look at how foreigners are giving drugs to our children in this country. They can't do that in other countries. This is a country where nobody cares about the country. There's no way something of that magnitude could happen without government knowing this was going on. So we become so self-centered. We've made money everything. We worship money. We've been so dehumanized. The humanliness in us has completely disappeared. It's me, myself, and I. So that even if I see somebody's child going astray, I don't care. It doesn't mean anything to me. That's who we have become. That's who we have become. But
on the Shakahola massacre,
even at that place you are calling massacre, whatever it's called,
Shakahola in Kilifi.
if a neighbor noticed that thing and they told the chief, would the chief give a hoot. The chief will go there and is given 2,000 shillings by that man, and the chief will go home.
The citizen administration.
If the police were tipped that the people are coming here and they are engaged in all manner of things, and the police went there with a Toyota Land Cruiser, sisi tulikuwa tunaitanga Land Rover, tujatoka hapo kwa Land Rover. That if that Land Cruiser lands there, will the police make an arrest? They will be talked to and they go back. This is the country we now live in. And these are the consequences we are
at the expense of people's lives?
Yeah, that's where we are now.
Which begs the question.
The bad foods we take, we imbibe poisoned foods in this country. They are inspected by our own boys and girls. These roads that are done in a short way, the bridges that are being washed.
School buses are getting accidents every day.
The engineers are our own children, our own sons and daughters. That's the country you have come, where people think money is everything. If you don't have money like me, they call you a fool. Because money is everything.
It is the currency.
It's the currency.
The language.
It's the currency, the language. If you speak another language, nobody hears. People hear language ya shilingi.
From the church.
So you need back to factory settings. But by the time you get there, so much damage will have been occasioned in the country.
So much damage has already happened. We've seen lives being lost. And someone here resonates that the National Intelligence Service and other intelligence units of this country have lost their glory, unlike the times of Moi and those old days. Would you say that probably we are only active on matters intelligence when it's during the political season, the political climate and temperatures are high? Would you say that?
No. I'm saying I don't want to blame any category of people. Because it's all of us. It's all of us.
Don't just
Who knows whether the intelligence have already given the right people the report and they have not acted on it? Why? How would I be quick to blame the intelligence? Maybe they have already given the report and the people to act have not acted.
Do you think to resolve... So
even the security intelligence, there's the county security committee headed by the county commissioner. And the other people inside the police are there and so on and so forth. If the boys on the ground have told them, the intelligence and the rest, they have the report and they have not acted, how do you blame the intelligence either in Nairobi or down there? Supposing that man has hosted the county commissioner and these other big boys and they have left with brown envelopes. I'm not saying they have done, but supposing, because these things happen in this country. So the bottom line of what I'm saying is we live in a country where nobody seems to care. Even we as citizens, we don't care about fellow citizens. Nobody cares about anybody else.
Probably
we are all in a hurry to make money, as if this money is what we shall use to make blankets and mattresses and coffins when we die.
Probably
we forget that when you die, if you are a Muslim, ni sanda tu.
Bila kitu ingine.
Yeah, and then unaenda pale kwa mchanga. If you are a Christian, it's just wood, some wooden thing.
Or leave funeral home.
And then there's nothing else you are going to leave. You leave everything behind. All this money you have stolen, all the money you have been bribed as an engineer to construct roads that have killed people because of potholes. You die and you leave behind. I think the national conversation about the values that we need to have must begin with where Kenyans have placed money. We have forgotten that money is just a medium of exchange, just like vehicles. We worship big vehicles. We have forgotten that vehicles are things to carry you from point A to point B. So now it is how big your vehicle is.
That's now the factor.
So when it comes to money, we've just forgotten that money is a medium of exchange.
Just that.
So it has become something we worship. Everybody has created an altar of money. And we must have a conversation around just how much money does a Kenyan need.
Just how much money?
Just how much money does a Kenyan need? Even when people die and we see people fighting over their money. Even the stories of people like Michael Jackson should have told us, when you die, there will be too many busybodies coming for your money and your estate.
Lawyers will have a
we are wasting time stealing money meant for the poor, meant for educating the poor children of this country, meant for health.
USC,
you saw Kemsa billionaires.
Yeah. Universal health company.
You are making contractors put up bad buildings that collapse and kill people.
Or empty gas cylinders.
You are getting bribed to give clean bill of health to constructions of road, which have very poor engineering that cause accidents that kill thousands of people every year in this country. But when you die, just when you die, how much of that money becomes useful to you?
That is the question.
So that's why we must begin to tell Kenyans, this money you are chasing a tremendous cost to, to society may not be as important as you think it is.